Hi, everyone. Rob from Two Docs Talk, joined by my co host, Abbass. Today, we've got a great episode with Ryan Schneider. Ryan is the co founder of a company called Thrive25, which is a company dedicated to bringing lifestyle medicine to everybody. We had a great conversation with Ryan about how and why he co founded the company, and just lots of great conversation about lifestyle medicine and how to implement a plan for lifestyle medicine, which I thought was really cool. Thrive25 has a newsletter. I highly encourage everyone to sign up for it. We'll put the link to that in the show notes, and you can consider becoming a member of Thrive25. I think it's a great company, and it's going to do a lot of really cool things over the coming years. I wanted to update everyone on the status of our petition to stop Medicare from limiting access to telehealth visits. So a couple months ago, we created the petition, and funding was extended through the end of March of this year. So on April 1, currently funding for Medicare telehealth visits will expire. This is I think a huge issue for millions of Americans who are on Medicare, especially rural and homebound patients who rely on this access to healthcare via telemedicine. So I encourage everyone to sign the petition. We'll put the link. We've gotten just checked a few minutes ago, almost 23,000 signatures, which is amazing. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all your support. It's been picked up by Newsweek, MSN News, and several other news organizations. And hopefully we'll continue to get the word out about this, raise the awareness, and let our elected officials know that this is not a political issue. This is a patient issue, patient care issue, and we need to preserve access for telehealth for all Medicare beneficiaries. Thank you as always. If you have any comments, please email me, rob@twodoctalkpodcast.com, and hit the subscribe button down below. Without further ado, on to the show. Ryan, welcome to Two Docs Talk, and we're so glad to have you here. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much, both of you. So my name's Ryan Schneider. I've been in the wellness space, if you will, for most of my career, helping with startups, everything from getting produce, supply chain companies to get the strawberries into cities like Boston and DC in the middle of winter, to helping get healthy snacks into companies so that they don't have junk food in their break rooms. And now most recently, I've launched Thrive25, which is really around health and longevity and helping all of us feel like we're more empowered to start taking control of our health and being inspired to actually do so. So connecting more people in kind of a community of those that are like-minded that say, we really can make a difference in terms of not just how long we live, but much more importantly, how well we live, right? And what we're doing and how we're feeling right now every morning when we get up.
What motivated you to start this program? Was that a life changes experience, or what made you to go to this route?
I've always been an athlete. I've always, I guess I would say, been pretty high up in terms of my athleticism for my age and my activity and wanting to experience things and be able to do pretty much anything without being compromised or held back. And as I turned 40, I had my second kid, my son. And, when you hit 40, even if you try really hard, things just don't feel maybe like they did when you were 25 or 30. And then you combine that with a son who doesn't like to sleep at night. And so you're just getting awoken almost every night for 6+ months. I just wasn't where I used to be. And I said two things. One, I need to be a better person today. And two, I did the math and I realized I was going to be almost 60 when he graduated high school. And in my head, I just kept thinking of all these memories of playing sports with my dad and how active I was with them. And I thought, I really need to redefine what 50 and 60 means, because I'm not going to be that old dad. I'm going to be the person that can be still playing tennis, golf, and basketball with him for the next 20 years. And so I just really decided, hey, it's not enough for me just to be advising other startups. I got to get back in the game and start my own thing and make this to where my passion, I know, is affecting all other parents who are, around the same age and realizing that same thing and really wanting to change their future trajectory so that they don't have years of chronic disease, but can actually live their best life for a long, long time.
Was there like one moment that made you say, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to do this. Was there like a day that you said, I'm going to, or a health issue of yours or somebody else's, or a day that you said, I'm just going to go for this?
I don't know if it was a health. So like I said, I had been in LA and San Francisco doing startups. And then we moved to Florida to have support from my in-laws for my two kids now. My wife grew up here. And so as I hit the reset button in my career, I was really just being an advisor. I was sitting on advisory boards and actually boards of directors and being an executive coach to other founders and entrepreneurs. And I thought to myself, not quite ready just to be in the mentor part of my career. I still have a lot to give. I still want to be a builder. I still want to be actively in it. And so I started looking very, very seriously at what are the pain points around longevity and health, and what are all the people around me experiencing that there's still a gap that needs to be filled. So after a lot of research and a lot of writing of newsletters and kind of getting feedback from people, we kind of launched a formal Thrive25 product on top of our newsletter. And that's where we are today. And we're just about to launch to the world to tell them what we have.
And so, Ryan, I'm really fascinated to hear what you've created with Thrive25 and how you've implemented this. I know it uses an app and it has AI components. Could you tell us a little bit about what you've put together and how can people access it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. I think our goal was to be much more affordable and accessible for the average person to avoid the need for cash-based services, whether that's testing or longevity clinics, functional medicine doctors, and saying, how can we leverage what I'm already paying for in my premiums? Because under the Affordable Care Act, there is a lot of preventative health I can get, but I need to know the right questions. I need to know when to go. I need to know how to make the most of that. And then let's say I get a physical and I get biomarkers, it's an eye chart. And then everything's probably in the normal range and I didn't get any value out of that. And so what we've done is said, let's make sure you're going to the right appointments, asking the right questions. Let's make sure you understand what those biomarkers mean, that ALT is actually tied to the fat in your liver, the fact that you can kind of understand what's happening inside your body so that all the lifestyle things that you all promote and we talk about all the time, sleep, nutrition, movement, laughing, mindset, you can understand what are the biggest risks for you and your future health and chronic disease risk, and what are the things that are the highest ROI. So we've kind of created some quick wins that again are very customized for each individual based on the AI of what your goals are, what your labs are, how you're feeling. And so it's taking advantage of both technology and existing medical information that you don't have to go pay hundreds of dollars out of pocket for labs when yes, your doctor might not give you everything. We all know there's certain doctors that are more progressive or not to give you all the biomarkers, but you can get a whole big panel as covered under your insurance. And it's just a matter of understanding it. So that's kind of the baseline of how we can help you pull your data together. And you can start to take more control of your health for what it turns out to be more like pennies a day, as opposed to, again, having hundreds or even more often thousands of dollars out of pocket for those things.
So the lifestyle changes is very, very difficult. What I have found, the people, the home, how they grow up and stuff like that is very. Have you find any way that reaching the people and turn them on, or a methodology that is has some success? Because I preach to my patient all the times, and there's motivators that they come asked to do it, and some they're still tough to change their daily routines. So have you found anything that has been successful and to implement?
Yeah, it's a great question. And you're totally right. Look, at the end of the day, the intrinsic motivation has to be internal from that user. They have to know why they're focused on that. But I'll give you an example of even my dad, who he was, like I said, we played all sports growing up. He was an athlete. He's always been fit. But he's never truly, I think, in that older generation, made the connection between everything he's eating, his health, right? Like he's just, he'll enjoy his milkshakes or he'll enjoy cold cuts and processed meat or what have you. But when I was able to then show him the specifics around maybe saturated fat in his ApoB score, and then ApoB to potential heart disease, right? Or his A1C being a little bit higher than it should be, and the specific things he can do to lower that, all of a sudden the competitive juices in him said, I don't want a score that's going to be into the yellow or even red category from my biomarkers. And now you're telling me there's something specific that I start doing these things, I can go get that score again and see that it's going down. And I think even though we know sleep or eating better is at a high level the right thing to do, when it's not directly connected to something I can see or feel in the near term, it's hard in the abstract to stick with it. But when you can give someone a goalpost, a number that they can start to like see potential improvements on, it really starts to change the behavior. And my dad's a perfect example of that. He's like, no, his doctor literally told him, which I think is completely unfair. He was not pre-diabetic, but he was so darn close that he's in the green. And so everyone, it's fine, right? I think you've all seen, like, if one is 5.6 A1C, oh, okay, no problem. Once I hit 5.7, that is an issue. That's not how it works. It creeps up over time. And so having him see that wasn't in the green, it was actually a yellow category, and that he could do these things to move it down into the green because he has 2 grandkids that he wants to still be spending time with. Now all of a sudden it's not just, oh, I should probably do that if I get around to it. It's like, no, I have to do these 3 to 5 things because I need to have better metabolic health so I can go on a hike to Machu Picchu with my wife, or because I want to play with my grandkids, all these types of things. And so it's all turning that into a why and giving people the data to see that what they're doing actually matters.
I absolutely love how you're using the standard medical care labs, and I wonder if, for example, things like fasting insulin level. Do you encourage patients to talk to their doctor to have that fasting insulin level? That's one of the most valuable tests, and it's like $30 to $40. Most doctors don't order it because we don't know what the ideal number should be, but I think most agree that less than 10 is probably where you need to be. Some say less than 5, but if it's 15, you have an issue. And so, do you encourage both patients to bring some additional labs to have their physician draw that?
We absolutely do. So we've got both a medical advisory board that we partner with specifically, and then we're just getting research out there. I mean, from all the PubMed studies, from all the leading medical researchers. And like you said, we're very much aligned with, like, hey, if you're below 6 in fasting insulin, absolutely probably in the green. And if you're below 10, yeah, it's probably safe, but you got to be a little bit, not complete consensus there. And then if it's above that, then that's something to pay attention to as a more of a leading indicator than fasting, glucose or some of these others. We're talking about the triglycerides versus cholesterol, right? Like all of these things that actually matter. That's exactly what we're doing. And we're putting it into layman's terms so that people can see. I mentioned ALT as an example earlier. What do all these acronyms? What does it mean? Why is it important to me? And what should I do about it? Right. And we put, and I'd be excited to share with you exactly what our interface looks like to bring this down so that even a 5th grader could kind of see, oh my gosh, now I get it, right? Like, these are my metabolic numbers. This is how it impacts how much energy I have. Here's my heart factors. Here's how I can look at that. Same thing with kidney and liver. And sometimes you do oversimplify it in a way that, the body's very complex. It's not as simple as how many ApoB cars are in your arteries and that turns into a traffic jam. That's directionally right enough for people to know I want that to be lower, right? And so you don't have to get to the last degree of true accurate science. You just have to give them something that's honest for them to understand and know, hey, I got to take this down a little bit. So you're absolutely right. We even have a document called the top 10 biomarkers your doctor's probably not giving you. Like you said, fasting insulin, ApoB, some of these other factors that really matter. Even sometimes, getting people to give you, your C-reactive protein and some of those things for inflammation. Like, unless you're asking for these things or showing symptoms, your doctor is typically thinking of risk in the next 3 to 5 years. And I love what Peter Attia talks about. He's like, I don't care about that. I care about the next 25 years, right? This is my life. This is about me. I'm just another number. So you're right. We're trying to leverage those labs and turn it into a document that people can actually use and understand.
Yeah, I think there's many people, at least in the Western culture, they have these sort of certain age goals, like you can eat terribly in 20s, 30s, and in 30s, 40s, you're going to get better and live that. But I tell my patient, from the time you're born until you die, this is a whole process that you have to engage in, even your 20s and 30s. Just live good life, but live reasonably. So you cannot just go indulge, copious amount and whether get gastric bypass or then suddenly go in a fasting diet. I think these are the thing to educate people about and to be aware of, consequence of down the line is, you may not see your cholesterol today or your sugar, but it's, as you said, 2025 down the line when you need amputation or whether you need kidney failure. Those are very important, I think, for the patient awareness.
So folks have been working on, functional medicine, lifestyle stuff for many decades. And yes, it's catching on, but it's, I think we can argue it's really not that. It's more of like a steady kind of increase. It's really not the exponential curve that we would like to see it. how are you implementing this? And specifically, I'm wondering who are the customers? Is it individuals, insurance company, employers, and can someone just go ahead and sign up on their own? How does this all work?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, you mentioned we do have a wait list. We're actually on the cusp of having early access and launching this to any consumer out there. So really, we look at it. I would tell you, like, if you're hearing this and you have lab work, you can be a potential customer of us, because from a very affordable price point, you're going to be able to say, I don't know what this lab is. I don't care if I, and what we've done is, I don't care if it's hard copy, if it's somewhere in your my chart portal or somewhere, any screenshot, any photo, any PDF, you upload it into our app, and the AI takes care of the rest and puts it into the database with one click of a button, so that we can then turn it into the report that I've been describing. So anyone that has a report, this is for you. Now, again, I look at myself as being that person that's like, as you get into that mid 30s to 40s, and maybe you're starting to feel just things slow down, right? Even the best of the best, like someone like a LeBron James who just turned 40, it's amazing what he's doing, but he knows he's not the same body he was 15 years ago. So I think as you get into that 35 to 45 range, you're starting to think, I need to go to more physicals. I need to like understand what's going on inside my body. I'm seeing my parents slow down, and I'm seeing what that chronic disease can look like. That's really our avatar of someone who's like, this is the point right now when you're worried about the next 25 years of healthy living. This is who we want to help. So we're launching first with consumer. We're doing that for two reasons. One, we built a newsletter, so we have an amazing community of thousands of people that I think are going to be great early adopters of the product. But two, that's to build the proof of concept so that we can target these employers and say, you're spending a lot of money for corporate wellness programs. And I don't want to just across the board say there's no value there, but oftentimes they're a one-to-many solution, right? They're not designed to specifically help any individual differently. For the same price point, we're going to be able to target those employers to say, this is going to get more of your team members to go to their annual physical, to understand their labs, and they can get ahead of things and reduce those claims that you're going to be responsible for in the next few years while they're still on your payroll. So that's absolutely how we think we can do it. And because we're at a price point than all those other, services that we talked about, functional medicine and many things, most of those companies, like executives today, maybe they go to the Mayo Clinic all day and get a whole body scan and get everything done, but you're not doing that for every employee at the company. And so this is our way of saying, how do we give this level of care and service to everyone, not just your most senior folks?
How much does it cost to join on monthly, and how much is like cost an individual for a whole year?
So we're targeting folks that can be what we say is less than Netflix, which I guess fortunately for us, Netflix keeps increasing their pricing. But we're really targeting $10 to $15 a month right now, for someone to get all their reports, all of their lab data hosted in here, track all of their preventative appointments and all of their quick wins, kind of like a habit tracking. And we have our own AI that's curated that we can tie into us for like that $10 to $15 a month. Um, and so again, we know it's not going to be something that maybe everyone uses daily, but it's holding all of the key moments, those key milestones, for your health, all in one place.
Does it sound like little tips like here and there, like maybe you consider, how was your sleep last night, that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. So we have all of those notifications going out right now because, again, I know both of you mentioned kind of checking out our newsletter. So we already had things like stats and quotes and inspirational pieces. So just like bite-sized chunks of that going out. And we're building out the AI to eventually, this is your true companion. So the three of us would never get anything close to the same notification, right? It's really helping you in the moment when and if you need it. So that's how we'll be getting. And so even to that point, you asked about the notifications. Let's say I'm getting could be a physical, it could be a colonoscopy, it could be anything. And 2 days ahead of time, 1 day ahead of time, 2 hours ahead of time, we have a place where there's an agenda that we pre-build the key questions and key comments that you should ask. And you can edit that with both voice to text or texting directly in the app. I don't want to leave saying, I wish I would have asked X, or I wish I would have thought about this, because we get in there and sometimes it's a quick 12-minute drive-by with the doctor and we're eyes glazed over and we walk out and we're like, oh, shoot. So we're putting agendas in there so that people, again, can make the most of those appointments and know the right things. There's another example of someone I knew who got diagnosed with prostate cancer. And unfortunately, the medical professional who worked with them didn't have maybe the best bedside manner and just simply said again, well, it's cancer. When that happens, and I'm sure you two know this way better than I do in your profession, in your career, the amygdala of your brain takes over and you as a patient are just consumed by those words and all logic goes out the window. But instead, if you knew I'm about to go get a PSA test or I'm about to go get a biopsy, and I say, well, guess what? Here's how they're going to measure that. Here's what a Gleason score is. Here's the range of numbers you might hear or see. Now, all of a sudden, instead of hearing I have cancer, well, what's the number? Oh, it's a 5. Oh, I actually know what that means, and maybe the risk isn't that high. And I can have an educated conversation. I don't have to be the CEO. I don't have to go to medical school. But as a patient, I'm educated enough to now not have a fear-based conversation, but have something where I have an honest conversation. Or did you know, with mammograms, right? There's a 12% false positive rate in breast cancer. So before you freak out, let's talk about what the next step should be to validate if this is a real issue or not. So it's all about educating people in the moments that matter with just enough information that they don't have to be beholden to a doctor or beholden to fear. They can instead feel like they have enough information to talk about it and be a part of the discussion.
Is there like a live option if there's, say, someone has a really pressing question or gets that, really gets a serious diagnosis, a cancer diagnosis, for example? Is there a way they can talk to somebody or a coach?
It's on our roadmap. I'll be honest. Right now, given the stage of where we are, we don't have that. But I mentioned to you, I think offline, my wife is actually a board certified functional medicine health coach. And I think there's invaluable information both from people that have medical expertise and just the ability to have empathy to talk to people that are going through these things. And so that is absolutely something that we see as a valuable piece in the future of this product.
Yeah, I don't know if you've checked out have you ever looked at the product, the Tony Robbins product, Life Force? Have you seen that one?
I do know them. I know the CEO. I know some of the investors in that as well. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I did that for like a year, and it was interesting, but I found it like it's very lab heavy. And then there's a consultation with the doctor like I think it's 3 months, but it just wasn't, I didn't really feel like there was enough time to really go over all the labs. And oftentimes the conversation went off in tangents. It was just it was not the best. So this might be a little, I kind of like what you're doing because it can be shorter, more focused sessions about, okay, let's talk about ApoB. Let's talk about A1C or whatever, and focus on the problem spots. But yeah, I think that Life Force, I wish that you could bring them together. The other thought too is Life Force is way expensive. It's like hundreds of dollars a month, and it's all these labs. And also, I think it may be a little bit redundant. Like checking TSH every 3 months is kind of silly. If you have no symptoms, why are we checking TSH every 3 months? So
yeah, you're absolutely right. I think look, I think there's an absolute market for that, and I think there's a lot of value for people that want to optimize to the nth degree, and there's so much we can learn from what they're doing and what we're doing. But one of our medical advisors also is the deputy chief resident of cardiology, and he talks about he's in the LinkedIn game that we all are too, right? And you see like what VCs are talking about and investors and what's the sexiest thing that's out there. And he's like, Ryan, for every one person that is, maybe Life Force is selling into, I can show you 50 people that are just trying to survive, get to the next day, trying to understand their lab once a year, like you said, versus every 3 months. And so again, I think there's a practicality to how do we help people when they need it and when they're interested in it versus when they're not. I mean, look, even in our beta test, which was a paid beta before, as we get this wait list, people were paying us for this report. And I can't tell you how many people, once they saw it, thought it was incredible. But getting them to there, one of the key pieces we put in was your results are ready. You're probably busy at work right now because the notification might be going out at 2:00 on a Tuesday when their results are ready. Go ahead and schedule 15 minutes on your calendar now to review this report. And these are people that love that feature because they know their health is important, but just like you said, Abbass, people don't always prioritize, right? They get stuck with the day-to-day, they're picking their kids up, they're dealing with work. So just even that of saying, hey, go set aside 15 minutes to take a look at this so you see what's important. That's where a lot of people are, and you have to meet them where they are, as opposed to, like you said, having someone come to your house 4 times a year to draw your blood. It's just not as big of a market where it's going to have the biggest ROI rate.
And there's a lot of information. For example, as you said, the word cancer for some people can be detrimental. And then when they go online, even they have a large polyps, there's so much information. And when you have limited information about healthcare, sometimes this can be scary, but it's good to have a sort of an avenue that is, that you can go in and get information. And the next time you go see a doctor, ask those appropriate questions. I think that's great, because some stuff in the internet, for example, like ulcerative colitis, a lot of patients they have, but the spectrum is so huge. So if you just diagnose, you can be scared to what you have. But if you have somebody to, inform you, yeah, there is a hope, there is a treatment, stuff like that. I think that is probably would definitely benefit the patients.
And it's a great point you brought up online. It's such a double-edged sword. I'm sure you guys have seen as hosting a podcast. If you read any of our newsletters, there's very little clickbait. There's very little sensationalism. It's just trying to kind of say what it really matters. And it's not as sexy to say sleep and nutrition and all these things on a consistent basis compared to, I don't know, rapamycin or metformin or you name it, whatever is out there right now. And it's hard to get an audience, right? Is it because you're just not getting to the top of the algorithms when you're preaching the boring stuff? But over time, that's what people start to respect, and that's really where we are. And so, to your point, Abbas, like even with our medical advisory team, we're always going to kind of come at it from a very, these are the right questions. We're not going to scare you that it could be too dangerous. We're not going to say, oh, don't worry about it, right? Let's be much more honest and authentic about what the situation is, and the right people will appreciate that, even if it's to the top of a Google search. With that.
A little bit of a funny question here, but I kind of, I'd love to hear your answer to this. If you had $1 billion and you could invest that for say, the United States, in terms of lifestyle, disease prevention, how would you do that?
I think the two, look, the sleep is the foundation of so much. Mindset is the foundation of so much. But I think the two things where there's money involved, and you talked about it, right? The incentives. I think nutrition and movement, there has to be an investment in which it's not a challenge to get fresh, organic, healthy, real for anybody. And why are we not sponsoring everyone to have access to a ability to move? Like, there's silver sneakers, right? For folks over 65. My parents go to the gym, the community center for free. Why is that over 65, right? A third, everyone in the country should have access to or subsidized ways in which they can go to, a gym of their choice or a workout of their choice. And so I think it's investing in those things where we're just in a very challenging world where we don't have to move if we don't want to, because we've created such a world of convenience, and we're inundated with ads for bad food, with driving down the street and seeing fast food outlets and all these things that we have to say no to all the time. So I think the actual investment that should go towards it is giving people as much of an outlet for moving and eating the right food. And then if we can do that, all the other things they'll start to be able to do, getting better sleep, having a better mindset. So I think those are the two biggest things I would focus on that dollars can help for the most.
Yeah, I wonder if standing desks could be helpful, putting them in, like, put 100 million standing desks in, and I think it probably would.
It's been such a difference. I used to work from home, and we're getting bigger, and I have an industrious office here, and I haven't yet invested in the sit-stand desk that I had at home, and I notice a huge difference. Absolutely, it's crazy how much I'm sitting. I come home, like, oh my god, I'll go for a walk, and I know, it is. It's just, we've built a whole economy around things we're not supposed to do, which is sitting. Right in this and staring at a screen, inches in front of us. And so giving your eyes a break to get outside, getting fresh air, getting sunshine, moving your body. I try to take walking meetings as much as possible. But like you said, you have to make such a conscious effort. It's so easy to wake up, sit all day, stare at a screen, eat dinner, sit on the couch, watch TV, go to bed, and do it all over again, right? And it's a cycle we have to absolutely break for a lot of people.
And office work today is as bad as smoking cigarette or almost carcinogen to your body. Down over there, from demineralization of the bone to the lack of activity for your lungs. And I see it all the time with fatty liver. They try even healthy because just sitting on the desk all day and not doing anything, we get so much bloatiness and discomfort. Yeah, so I think it's just the lifestyle. I think is the key thing, that accept what you are, and hopefully you can the problem is we work so hard, so much, and then you have a time you go home, you eat and pass out, and just and some people for survival is that. So we can just, as you said, have a little option that yes, at your break you can eat a pizza, or you can go for a little walk and have a salad. So options that'd be great to have.
And it starts at the top for every company. I've been an advisor and a consultant. And look, I know as a startup, I'm working too many hours, than I should be to get this off the ground. But as we hire folks, as whether they're 1099s or W-2s, you build that into your calendar and then you help them build it into you, right? Like, no, I want you to go for a walk at lunch. Like, that's part of it. I know you'll be more productive in the afternoon. I know you'll feel like you want to stay working with this company for a long time. And it is caring about the health of your team, and knowing that makes them a better person, that makes them a better colleague, that makes them a better partner. And so the people that are dictating your time need to be, I think that we have to see there's an ROI to all of that. More than anything, just better members of community when we have better health.
I have one time my parents they came to visit me, and I was a fellow at LSU, and my parents asked me, "So are you gonna come home for lunch?" I says no. He says, "How could you function? How could you be a doctor in the afternoon if you have not had a proper lunch and rest?" And of course, in this case, it's laughable. I mean, we work so hard. I mean, that's so true. The comes so true that if I not can take care of my health and I have not a little, break at lunch or just go there, how could you be, thinking clearly in the afternoon? But unfortunately, the culture here is very different.
Well, and I'm sure I'd love to hear, offline stories from both of you is, not going through the process, but how many residents are just sleep deprived and making some of the most important decisions in someone else's health and life. And yet that still exists, right? In terms of like, we're going to push our residents or anyone going through the process as you get your MD. And it's like, haven't we learned that we shouldn't have people with the same mindset of someone that's driving drunk, like kind of going through that? Why are we pushing people unnecessarily, So.
No, I like to study the people go to doctor's lounge in the hospital and take a picture of what the food is availability. So that's what you learn. So it's that's what you preach. So how can people go ahead? Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I couldn't agree. When my wife had our second child, she delivered in a hospital. They bring up sugar laced yogurt. There's a McDonald's inside the hospital. I looked at everything they wanted to give her, and I'm like, why are we feeding her just simple carbs and sugary fruit juices like the whole time when she couldn't need more nutrients, right? As giving birth, right in that moment, and yeah, that disconnect was just kind of baffling to me that I had to go out to Whole Foods, come back with our own food and say, here's your breakfast, like.
I'm curious, Ryan, have you implemented anything in your life with any changes? You mentioned when you hit 40, you were having a few, it sounds like aches and pains and things like that. Anything you found to be particularly helpful in your life?
It's a great question. I appreciate that. So I'd speak to, there's many things, but a few of the things that I'll really speak to. I never did enough yoga, mindset, breath work, or kind of focusing on mobility and stretching, right? So I'd go run 4 miles, I'd go to the gym and lift, and then I would be done. And so I think what I've really focused on is, things like posture, things like mobility with my spine, keeping it in ways I'm moving as a human should be able to move, to prevent injury. And I think that's so key that you have to start to adjust how much your warm up and cool down sessions are outside of a workout. And then in terms of, mindset, is incorporating those things. I've done meditation, I've done cyclic sign, I've done, just doing the perfect breath for 5 minutes, body scan, gratitude journals. These are things that honestly were pretty foreign to me, just as kind of a type A go-getter. And being able to slow that down, whether it's the stress of kids, the stress of the startup, that's been huge for me to be able to do that. And I'm not great at it. I'm not going to pretend that I am, but I think just being able to take that pause, to be able to laugh with friends and understand how much relationships matter. Those are the things I've really kind of gravitated towards, where before it was just like, oh, today was a successful day. I got up early, I ran, I crushed it at work, went out to a happy hour and do it again tomorrow. But yeah, that shift of being able to slow down and connect with people and take care of my body at a slower pace has been something I've focused.
So how can people reach to you and join and get more information about your company?
Yeah, so just thrive25.com right now. You are, as we film today, are going to see join the wait list. But by this, you might already see like sign up for early access as we open this up, and people can go ahead and click on that. They can get a little preview of what the membership looks like in the app and the biomarker report, and go ahead and sign up. And, you know, we're here to help. And I loved your question, Rob, when you asked, is someone going to be available to you when you need them? And even though we know this is a business to consumer company, or even if we go into employers, hundreds of thousands of employees, we're here to solve problems. And I tell everyone, I said, look, we're still early in our roadmap of where we are as a company. And if what we have today doesn't solve your problem, email us, text us, get into our Discord community and tell us what you need. Because the reason we started this is just to help people. And it's not to build a product, it's to help answer what you need at that moment. We've already built many things that don't scale, and we're like, let's just do it. And then we'll figure out how to scale it when we run into that problem. But we're here to help solve people's problems. So just know we want to be your partner. We want to help you just get to your health goals. And if we don't have what you need yet, just tell us, and we'll make sure that that's what we're working on the rest of this year, or maybe in 2026.
What are the age group, or what are the demographic that you so far been successful?
So we've really seen 35 to 55 be, kind of that sweet spot. We've had people that are a little bit younger, and then we've had people that are older. Obviously, some of our early friends and family that have tried it out. Parents, aunts, uncles have liked it too. I feel like, and again, you all can tell me if I'm wrong, it might also be people that have advantage plans to go beyond just Medicare, but I feel like your doctor takes more time with you as you get into your 60s and actually will explain things for you because there's more urgency. So we feel like that 35 to 55 is key because you're still not getting that time you need from the traditional healthcare system. That can be so helpful, that we can help with.
Thank you, Ryan. That is just incredible. We'll have all the links to Thrive25 in the show notes, and we would also love to be able to get whether if you have a trial version or some to see your platform. I think that would just be really exciting.
Yeah, and absolutely. This week I'll be sending both of you all invites to get into the program for sure.
Thank you so much, and we'll hope to have you on again maybe in a few months. We can just to see how this is going and what how this develops over the next couple years. So thank you again.
Yeah, and thank you, and I appreciate you all doing this podcast. Like I said, promoting the lifestyle medicine, coming at it from you all having the education of what traditional medicine can do, but also the power of lifestyle. The more people that are spreading the word, the better. So thank you for what you all are doing, and appreciate the opportunity to be a guest with you.